After owning a large variety of Ford Mavericks, modifying them by lifting, lowering, exhaust, performance stuff, making all types of different reviews, today we do something I cannot believe that we haven't done with these.
That is comparing it to this, the only true competitor to the Ford Maverick on the market currently. Just before we introduce the vehicles, we should probably introduce ourselves as well. My name is Todd, my son, Austin and I, we are Performance on Wheels and we make all sorts of different videos for you guys to enjoy. If you would, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, join us and support us on our journey.
I first off would like to apologize before we even get into this. If you guys are familiar with our channel, we typically make some somewhat high quality car videos from modifying to full-on reviews and stuff like that. Today is going to be a little less quality than usual because unfortunately we are stuck dead on the side of the road because of one of the two vehicles that is behind us right now. We're going to get into that here shortly, but for now, just stick with us as we start off this review.
Introducing the stars of the show. This is Frank. Actually, it's a Ford Maverick, and we did go with the trimmer lineup. That's because we also went with the Hyundai Santa Cruz XRT. Both of these are supposed to be the off-road variants of both of these models, and both of them are right around that $40,000 price point.
And I need to give a huge shout out to Apple Ford Shakopee for supplying both the Maverick and Hyundai Santa Cruz that were used in today's video. If you guys are interested in purchasing either one of these vehicles, be sure to check out that link down in the description below.
Starting off up front of the Hyundai Santa Cruz, we're going to kind of go back and forth here, start off with design, move to the interior, and then finish up with driving, which is ultimately why we're on the side of the road today. Here on the front end of the Hyundai Santa Cruz, first of all, I am so beyond astonished that we have never driven these two back to back. How many Mavericks videos that we've made. So going straight from the Maverick to the Hyundai Santa Cruz, it's kind of interesting, right? Because the Maverick looks like a truck. You know, it has that truck appearance at all four corners. From the front end, the side, the back, it looks like a truck. Here on the Hyundai Santa Cruz, without seeing it from a side or back profile, I 100% would assume this is a midsize SUV.
From Mars.
Yeah, from Mars for sure. The whole front end of this thing, I actually find to be really cool looking. I love how there's like almost these black chrome pieces across the whole front. Quite honestly, I can't tell which ones are lights and which ones are just black chrome trim pieces when it's off. They did a really good job at that. Looks super unique when it's running. Unfortunately, it doesn't show up on camera super well because of the frame rates. It really is a good looking front end and I do like it.
The things that I think are interesting, but I've actually grown to like them on, it's not just the Santa Cruz, most Hyundais do it, is they get confused on where their headlights versus turn signals go. So on the Santa Cruz here, the headlights are down low and the turn signals are down there, but the running lights are up high. And there's some similarities that go around back once we get around there, so just keep your eyes tuned in for that. But like Austin says, it's a pretty good looking front end. The thing that is very interesting is if you didn't have these vehicles side by side, you would look at the Santa Cruz and think that it is more car-like or a completely different profile from what the Maverick is. But when you do pull them next to each other, it's very interesting how similar they actually are. 25 was the redesign for the Maverick, and it was mostly headlights, cosmetic, a few things inside. We'll get there in a moment. What I do like about the Maverick compared to the Santa Cruz is we actually have some nice tow hooks down there, and because we're in the trimmer package, we have that fun orange goldish accent that we'll find throughout all sides of the Maverick. There's a little design cue on just about every side, including the wheels, including the seats, so they carry that throughout the entire body. Much more traditional pickup truck is really all you have to say about the Maverick when it comes to not only the front design, but the side and rear design. It looks like a truck. There's a lot more to talk about on the Santa Cruz because it looks like it's from Mars.
On the side of the Maverick, we actually have a 360-degree camera. As you can see, we got the actual little camera in the bottom half of the mirror here, which we didn't have over in the Santa Cruz, just the standard backup camera. Kind of interesting to me. Over here on the Maverick as well, in the trimmer model, much more aggressive tires than you get on the Santa Cruz and the XRT comparison. So a little bit more aggressive or off-road capability here. And the Santa Cruz that we were just in only had all-wheel drive lock, which is nice to have for sure. But here in the Maverick, not only can we lock all-wheel drive, but we can also lock that rear diff. So it definitely is going to be a little bit more capable if you're wanting to push this somewhat off-road in comparison to the Santa Cruz. So if that's something that is a perk to you, then go with the Maverick. But I think either one of them on a day-to-day driving basis or going through snow is going to be just fine.
Around the side of the Santa Cruz, again, this does look more car-like compared to the overall profile of the Maverick. These running boards are very unique and quite awkward, I will add. But there is a ruggedness to the side of the Santa Cruz that is fun. The kind of oversized, over dramatic plastic wheel arches. Again, this is the off-road variant of the Santa Cruz. This also does have almost a full inch less ground clearance compared to the Maverick trimmer, and these are both the off-road variants, to repeat myself there. It's just an interesting design where the Maverick does have that distinguished four-door pickup truck body lines. There's more of this sloping roof line that comes off that rear door that leads into the bed. That's almost like a tonneau cover spoiler type accent that it gives it. So it's an interesting design. It's definitely not a traditional pickup truck.
And it's not just like that in the rear. If we look at the A-pillar when we have these next to each other in both the Maverick and the Santa Cruz, you can see just how more dramatic the Maverick's A-pillar quickly like rises up or goes straight up to give more of that boxed off cab feel that you'll find in your standard pickup truck. Where here it has a lot more of a slope to make it look a little more aerodynamic on the A-pillar, making the whole roof line itself look lower even though they're pretty much the exact same height.
Around back of the Santa Cruz, you will see that I actually really like the step on the rear bumper here. It is handy. And as I'm moving around back, I see right in the taillight here that it says designed in California, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's actually because, believe it or not, I'm standing next to the Maverick right now, and this is not as American as that Hyundai Santa Cruz was. Now, the Maverick here is assembled over in Mexico, where the Santa Cruz is actually built, where was it again? Somewhere in the U.S.?
Alabama.
Yeah, I think it was Alabama, something like that. But yeah, designed in the U.S. and built in the U.S. That's kind of fun, isn't it?
It's really cool that it's more American. The Korean car is more American than the American car, but there's a lot of those stories out there, just interesting, especially with the tariffs currently. Maybe that's a deciding factor for you until something comes up here in a little bit. But going back to the back of the Santa Cruz here, down below you will see that tow hitch. One thing that is interesting is the Santa Cruz does have a higher towing capacity compared to the Maverick. 5,000 pounds compared to what could be 4,000 pounds. However, not in the trimmer, Austin. What is the trimmer's towing capacity?
2,000 pounds.
Interesting. So the 3,000 pound higher towing capacity in the Santa Cruz.
It's a big deal.
What I did read, however, from consumers that actually own the Santa Cruz, I'd like to hear your comments below if you have a difference of opinion here, is the Santa Cruz is said from the consumers that it struggles from a feel perspective when you do have a higher load behind it.
Same thing around back with the Maverick. It looks like a truck. In talking about overall appearance, I think I'm going to take the Maverick over the Santa Cruz. I like the front end of the Santa Cruz more than the Maverick, but every other angle of the Maverick looks better in my personal opinion.
The bed on this $40,000 Maverick is a lot simpler than what we find over on the Santa Cruz. Now, you probably could have a love-hate relationship with what you got going on over on the Santa Cruz here, but you do have a very handy sliding tonneau cover that works really well, has a nice strap to pull it back. There's also some very nice under bed storage that is easily accessible. I also like the fact that the tailgate on the Santa Cruz is a nice retracting. It's got a little strut there to slow things down. We're over on the Maverick, we just got that hard fall there, so you have to actually put a little muscle into lifting that up. We do have some similar tracks to tie items down in both the Santa Cruz as well as the Maverick, but there are some obviously additional accessories in the Santa Cruz bed.
The Maverick's bed looks so much more like an actual truck. It's kind of interesting. I mean, it just looks like a mini F-150. It's kind of interesting how they did that, where the Santa Cruz feels so dramatically different. It feels like something that's not a truck at all inside of the bed, but it still has some of the same capability. That small additional size that the Maverick's bed has over the Santa Cruz's, you can definitely see causes a big play in functionality when it comes to actually using the bed. The Santa Cruz bed is super nice to have, but in reality, it's actually too small. So you must think, so since the bed is smaller on the Santa Cruz, must have bigger interior space, right? Let's find out. Let's head inside of these things. Sitting inside of the Hyundai Santa Cruz, it's definitely a lot more car-like than the Maverick. So if that's something that you're interested in, the Santa Cruz might have to be your pick. And I do kind of like sitting in the Santa Cruz in the sense where it feels like it was a better put together interior. It feels like it was more thought out. The technology is better. The whole tech that Kia and Hyundai have going on, it's faster, it works better. And I also much prefer the screen that's right in front of you as a driver. It just has better tech in it, in my opinion, especially than the Maverick that we have behind us here, the 25. Not a big fan of the new screen that they put in there. It's just kind of laggy, a little bit pixelated if you look at it close, but it does the job just fine. Now, the other thing that's kind of weird inside of the Hyundai is you almost feel like you're sitting up a little bit higher versus you have more seat adjustment here in the Maverick. What were your thoughts behind the wheel?
I think they are both comfortable vehicles. I will just say that right off the bat, that neither one of them, I would say, is uncomfortable.
I would agree.
At least in the front two seats. Comfortable to drive, and we will get into the driving impressions more just a little bit. Hyundai, Kia, that brand has been known for slamming tech and different options into their vehicles. Mostly items that you would only find on higher trims of other manufacturers. So that is something to always keep in mind. If that tech, if those features are really important to you, there's a better chance that you're going to find them in the Hyundai versus the Ford for the same price point.
Cooled seats, for example. You can't even get them in a Maverick, but you can in a Santa Cruz.
There's also the 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty that the Hyundai comes with versus the 3-year, 36,000-mile or 5-year, 60,000-mile powertrain warranty that the Maverick has. You might need the warranty more on one vehicle versus the other. I'm not sure which one. We might know that answer by the end of the video. What I will say, as a 6-foot-tall individual, getting into the back seat of both of these, one of them is a clear winner. The winner for me is the Maverick. That's because it sits more like a truck.
And if we open up the back seat of the Maverick, we actually have more underseat storage than we have over in the Santa Cruz, where half of the Santa Cruz is taken up by a jack for a spare tire. We have significantly more area to put some items inside of the back seat of the Maverick.
Lots of seat time in the Maverick, so it is a very familiar place to be. Enjoyable, comfortable place to be, I will add. In the trimmer, obviously, this is the tough Maverick, so we have that little bit extra ground clearance that you do feel when you hop between the different lineups of the Maverick, which that is nice that you feel like you're actually in a truck. And comparing the Maverick to the Santa Cruz, that is something that stands out to me when you sit in one versus the other, is that the Maverick gives off the feeling of more of a truck-like presence. Some of this has to do with the up and down design element of the dashboard. Also, when you look out over the hood, it is more truck-like compared to the Santa Cruz. When you throw it into a corner, however, things are a little bit different in my opinion, where the Maverick actually feels more car-like, more engaging, more fun to drive, where the Santa Cruz has a little more body roll, which I find is interesting. Now, the Maverick is a lot more simple. The 2025 does have the update of the infotainment that is all digital, and the instrument cluster that's all digital. What I meant is the infotainment being a larger screen. The Santa Cruz looks like it's from 10 years from now. It looks like it was futuristic in its design, so the Maverick is a lot simpler cabin to be in. The visibility of the Maverick, because it feels more truck-like, is excellent. Whether you're looking behind you through your rear view mirror, your side mirrors, even if you have to do the over the shoulder look, there's good visibility through all the different pillars, all the different windows in the Maverick. That is definitely a perk. It is a fun, engaging experience behind the wheel of the Maverick. We've enjoyed these lots of Maverick videos on the channel. Make sure that if this is your choice that you hit that subscribe button, because there's a lot of content on Performance on Wheels. First thing that is very apparent behind the wheel of the Santa Cruz after getting out of the Maverick is the 30 horsepower increase in the Santa Cruz is apparent. It does feel a little peppier. It does feel to pull a little more fun when you get into the throttle. I would even say it's even a little more responsive compared to the Maverick. We do like the Maverick when you do put it in sport mode. Both vehicles do have different drive modes, by the way. And speaking of drive modes, the animation on both of the screens, it does change up a little bit, especially when you go into sport mode. Here in the Santa Cruz, it gives us a kind of an animated carbon fiber with some red accents in the backside, which makes it all the more faster. Going into the turns in the Santa Cruz is very interesting because it feels like you are in a car. The sitting position, the visibility over the dash, everything feels like a car, but you put this into a turn compared to the Maverick, and this feels more like a truck. It's very interesting. The body roll is more apparent. It does not feel as stable. I just find that very interesting because it just feels awkward or opposite. Everything is all digital here in the Santa Cruz, just like the Maverick. And what I will say is, although the screens look a little crisper and clearer, especially the instrument cluster I'm referring to, it's not necessarily as nicely integrated into the dashboard versus the Maverick. It just seems more of a tablet that is placed into the dashboard versus an integrated concept, or more traditional concept, I should say, that you find in the Maverick. They do some fun design elements as you are in the cabin here with the almost stainless steel presence of the lines that go all the way around you. Although the gas mileage ratings are exactly the same per window sticker and per manufacturer, what we find is this Santa Cruz over the last 10, 15,000 miles has an average of 19.5 miles per gallon. That would have been this. What happened? I lost all power.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Your oil light's on. Isn't that the oil light?
Yeah.
My dad and I have been shooting videos for about 6 years now. We started this YouTube channel in 2019, over 300 videos, 10 million views, 35,000 subscribers, and across all of that, never have we ran into the issue that we just did. We unfortunately just blew the motor in this Hyundai Santa Cruz with only 15,000 miles on it while driving it, I would say, pretty normally. So definitely a situation that we've never ran into before, but definitely makes the video and the day a little bit more interesting, to say the least.
As you can see, we just did a normal acceleration after doing our quick 3-mile drive that we do with pretty much every car, and the engine blew. You know, oil was absolutely spewing everywhere, huge trail right into where it was parked. This car only had 15,000 miles on it, but it is still under Hyundai warranty, so it's gonna go get a new engine put in it. But I mean, it's kind of hard to recommend a vehicle to anyone when I know that it's from a manufacturer that's known for engine reliability issues, and it literally blows up while we're trying to shoot a video on it. And I mean, we're not doing anything crazy. We weren't pushing it to the limit off-road. We weren't doing anything. And yeah, I mean, I think the Maverick's a clear winner of the day.
So we wrapped this video up with an ending that I was not necessarily expecting.
Yeah, I didn't see this coming.
Yeah, this is our first time ever experiencing this, like I brought up. And this, yeah, this just totally caught us off guard. I have no idea how to give a positive review about a vehicle that's engine went out with 15,000 miles on it, and it's not like Hyundai's been known for this forever.
Yeah, so I genuinely know 3 people in my life that have had the same experience with their Hyundai product, that they have lost the engine in some manner or needed an engine replacement in some manner. All vehicles were under 60,000 miles. So it is a thing. Like, when you know people personally or multiple people with the same thing in your life, my bubble's not that big, let's be honest. And I know 3 people in it that have had engine failures.
So it's really hard for us to recommend. I mean, yeah, the Santa Cruz had some great perks that I did like over the Maverick. The whole pop-up thing in the bed, I think, super cool. Just some of the layout, the interior feels nicer, the tech's better. But yeah, I cannot recommend a vehicle that just did what we experienced. I could not imagine spending my hard-earned money on something like that and dealing with that situation.
I mean, if we were broken down on the side of the road right now in a Santa Cruz, we could have a nice little cooler with our understorage.
You're not wrong.
Where we can't have that on the Maverick. So I guess the Maverick's gonna actually have to continue running down the road to get you to a restaurant versus waiting for a tow truck.
I guess so. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the video here today on Performance on Wheels. I'm sorry that it wasn't necessarily as high quality as some of the other videos that we've done. Of course, this caught us off guard, and we really only have like 1 day a week to film. So yeah, this is just how it goes. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next time.